Hey, great Sunday, everyone. It's so good to see you. Welcome back to Bella's Hope for Healing. I'm your girl, Audrey Bella Langston. Yes, I see you. I see you, Jonathan, my brother. How are you? Jonathan Trailer. I see you, Elizabeth G. I see you, Elizabeth Oldman. Thank you guys for joining, and happy National Kidney Month. Yes, to all us recipients and all of us who are waiting on that blessed kidney. This is a great month, a joyous month, especially for those of us like myself, us March babies. Big shout out to everyone whose birthday is in the month of March. I just celebrated last weekend my 60th, and it was just such an awesome time, and the party continues, guys. You know, for me, I'm just gonna do my thing every week because every day is a blessing. Shout out to my producer Jared, who also celebrated his birthday this weekend. So please give him a shout of a happy birthday in the chat box also. So let's see, let's start with a few little, as I call them, housekeeping norms. Before we get kicking off with this show, please remember to share and subscribe, guys. Thank you, Jonathan. I saw you just shared the show. I appreciate that, my brother. Don't forget to smash that like button, okay? This show is live right now on Facebook and YouTube. And let me reiterate, based on a call I got earlier from a friend who missed the show, my last show on depression, anxiety, and suicide. She had no idea that it was recorded. Let me continue to reiterate that. Once the show is done, it is auto recorded. So if you miss it, or you enjoyed the show so much, like I'm sure you will and always do, you can tell someone else who you think may need this help, or they're dealing with something. And guys, everybody's dealing just about with some type of anxiety and definitely depression. It's just in different levels. So just because that show is over, the fact of what's going on is not over. Okay, so we got to really keep putting this out here. Hi, Charles Pecoraro. It's nice to see you on the show. Also, I want you to be involved in the show. So please, please, please share your thoughts. Everybody's got them when you're hearing a story. Come on, we ain't gonna be a lump on the log out here. Ask a question of the guest, give a comment, say something uplifting, you know, and I just want you engaged in the show. Put it in the chat box. Jared will throw it up on the screen, and even if I don't call it out right that minute, your question, I promise you I will try and do my best to get to all of them. Or if you just want to say, hey, what's up, Bella? I'm cool with that too. I appreciate all the love, and I promise that I will try to get to all of them, as I said, because it's really important to me to try to do that. Also, I want you guys to keep in mind, in light of this devastation that we have going on in Russia, we have to make sure we don't just look at this as that's their problem. No, this is a problem for all of us, guys. What's affecting them is affecting us, which is the reason why we have these escalating, outrageous gas prices. But that's not what even the most important, because that's material. We have these poor people in Ukraine are dying in droves. I know you guys see it. I see it every morning on the news. The bodies of children and women, and it's awful. It's awful. So please remember to pray for these people. Pray for their lives. Pray for the families that are left behind. Pray for the children. This loss of life that's happening right now is horrific. And being a former law enforcement officer, I have seen things like this. It's not new to me, but this is on a whole different realm, guys. So please remember to lift them up in prayer, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, because I'm praying for you guys too. I'm praying for us here in the United States. Hallelujah. Okay, so coming to you today, I have a great, great guest. My guest, Rebecca, is 61 years of age, and she resides in Lake Erie, Pennsylvania. Her battle with kidney disease began after giving birth. When she was 25 years of age, she gave birth to her son, and she was informed afterward that she had PKD, Polycystic Kidney Disease. I hear this kind of often. But by the time she reached 41, she was placed on dialysis. And now the part that I don't hear as often is that she had to endure dialysis for 16 and a half years, guys, before she received her life-saving organ. Imagine, I never knew anyone that was on it that long. And I mean, anytime to us as people dealing with kidney disease, I was only on it 6 months, but that was a long 6 months to me. Nothing in comparison to what many have to endure. But the great thing is that it didn't stop there. Well, not so much the great thing, but it didn't stop there, because she was then diagnosed with breast cancer, unfortunately. But she got over that and received the gift of life in January of 2018. This woman is awesome. And I just want you to welcome her as she comes to us right now to share her story. Welcome, Rebecca King. Hello, hello. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Bella.
How are you? Hi, thank you so much. Good, thank you. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. We're doing good.
Good,
It's cold out here. It's cold here.
Yes, it's chilly there in Pennsylvania, I bet. What's the temperature right now?
Oh, it's probably only in the teens right now.
Okay, you guys got snow?
Oh, absolutely.
I bet, yeah. I being former resident of Chicago, I totally can relate to the cold weather and the snow. Some aspects I miss, like the snow is beautiful, but I don't miss that cold, that's for sure. But I really appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday to join us. So what I'd like to get started with is you just sharing with us how I want your version of how your journey with PKD began.
Like you said, I found out after the birth of my son. And polycystic kidney is a genetically inherited disease. My grandmother had it. My mom had it. Then I found out that I had it. I have a sister. All my siblings have it except one. I'm the oldest of 7. But only 2 of us were on dialysis. One still is. And then I just had to follow up with my doctor. And then like you said, when I was 41 is when I was put on dialysis.
Mm-hmm. So you were pregnant, and were you, okay, because, I also found out that I had my disease is called it's short-term FSGS. It's a very long name, focal segmental glomerulosclerosis. And I had my daughter, I was pregnant with my daughter when I was 30. And for me, there, because a couple of people asked me, was I experiencing anything, at that time? And the only thing, I was healthy as an ox during pregnancy with both my children. But one thing I was experiencing was an exorbitant amount of protein spillage through my urine. Now, my gynecologist obstetrician called this to my attention. And to me, that meant nothing at the time because it wasn't really explained to me that that's something serious, other than he said, this is something, all women, pregnant women spill protein, but yours is really high. So I'm going to talk to a friend of mine, that's a nephrologist about that and get his thoughts. Well, he never got back to me on that. And again, I didn't make a big deal out of it because I was fine, So here I was, not quite a year after she was born, I get diagnosed. Now, at that time, I felt, after reflecting, if that had been handled in the right way, maybe it possibly may have not elevated to the point to which it did. So my question to you is, were you having any unusual symptoms during your pregnancy? Did your OB-GYN pick up on anything, or were you had your child and you were just hit with this out of nowhere?
Yeah, that's kind of how it was. I was, my son was 5 weeks old, and I had severe back pain, located in your kidney. So I was taken to the hospital. They thought I had kidney stones, and then when they did the testing is when I had kidney infection, and that's when they found the polycystic disease. Symptoms before that whatsoever.
No symptoms. So nothing in, when your baby, your gynecologist would do, like at your visits, prenatal care visits, nothing was unusual with your visits as far as urine samples or blood. I don't know if you would get blood work periodically or whatever. I'm sorry, no. Did you say no? Were you saying no? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say anything. Or were you just saying no? I think you're freezing up just a little bit.
No, I didn't have any of that.
Okay, you didn't have any of that. Okay.
No, I didn't have any of that until that I had the disease. And of course, they cleared up the infection.
Okay.
I didn't.
I had, okay.
Yeah, I had no symptoms.
No symptoms. Okay.
You are too at points.
So
yeah, I none of that before.
Okay. All right. So from that point on, tell us a little bit about, once you got diagnosed, take us into your journey with what happened after your diagnosis and how you were, I'm assuming, placed with assigned a nephrologist. Tell us a little bit about your flow into your, the story of your situation after that led at some point up to dialysis.
Yeah, I was assigned a nephrologist, who's Dr. Fody, and I was with him and just kept up on blood work to see where my levels were. And one day I just woke up and I just did not feel good at all. I went to the doctor, and he actually was the one who did my first. He was the one who did my first treatment on dialysis, and he did it through my groin area. And then I was, had the surgery to have the catheter put in and the fistula put in my arm.
Okay, so what was the window, the time span from your diagnosis to when you were actually facing dialysis? Now, for me, and everybody's is usually different. Some folks, kidney disease is so aggressive at an aggressive stage to almost where, it's a dangerous level, that they have to start on dialysis right away. So I was able to slow mine down a little bit. No, not a little bit, quite a bit with some lifestyle changes. So it was almost about 8 years lapse in between when I was facing dialysis. How about yourself? Tell us about the distance of time and, to which you ended up going on dialysis and how that came about that you had to be on it 16 and a half years. Take us through that journey. I'm sure there are quite a few more details, with regard to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 25 when I found out and just kept up with blood work until I was 41. And that's when I started dialysis when I was 41. And then I did get a phone call from Cleveland Clinic. I went there because they had a kidney, but it was not a close enough match. And then I had to go back one more time. And then they told me that since I had the breast cancer and a melanoma, that I would not ever qualify for a transplant, that dialysis was going to be what I would have to do. And after that, I'm being on dialysis for so long, they started doing transplants at UPMC Hammett here in Erie. And one day my dialysis technician came to me and said, about them doing transplants now in Erie and that I should at least go to the meeting. He goes, "What do you got to lose?" And I really didn't have anything to lose. So I went to the meeting and that just led right into the evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was evaluated, it was less than 4 weeks and I got the phone call from I actually got a phone call from the doctor who was going to do my surgery. He actually called me and said they had a good kidney for me. And I did have my cousin was being worked up to be a living donor. He probably had another test to do, but the doctor really insisted that I should take the kidney that they had for me. And so that's what I did. And it's been a little years now.
Okay. So after you were diagnosed with the PKD, how long did the breast cancer, the diagnosis of breast cancer come after that? Obviously, one had nothing to do with the other, but geez, what a hit after. I mean, you're a strong woman after, getting that hit with diagnosis with PKD, and then again with your breast cancer. Was that unexpected, or were you having problems?
No, I really wasn't having any problems. The breast cancer, I could feel it when I would put my seatbelt on or when somebody would hug me. So then I got checked out and got that taken care of. And then after that, then I went in to have a mole removed off of my ear. And then I asked the doctor if he could check this mole that I had that was starting to change. And all he could do at the time was do a punch biopsy and found out it was cancer. And then they had to go in and do some more and found out it was melanoma. And that all happened after I was on dialysis. So I was doing dialysis and going through both of these at the same time.
Wow. 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 And how was your spirit at that time, Rebecca? I mean, that's one is enough to endure, whether it's the breast cancer or, dialysis. It actually does mess with majority of us emotionally, because our bodies are not, filtering waste the way that they should, which is generally, our kidneys are not filtering the waste, and that sends us into renal failure. But also, we experience highs and lows and, good days and bad days, sometimes more bad than good. So tell us a little bit about your psyche during that time, and then also like your day-to-day life. How was life overall for you during that time?
Well, I tried to make it as normal as I could, because I was still working at the time. I had my own business, and um, I just tried to stay positive. I had my son to take care of, and um, I just tried to have a good attitude about it. I always thought, somebody always has it worse than you do. Um, yeah, I would be tired. After dialysis, I would come home and I'd have to take a nap. Um, and it got to be hard, trying to run your own business full time and going to dialysis 3 days a week. But I did it, and then it just got to the point where it was just too much. So I had to close down the salon.
Mhm. So you had a hair salon. That's
Yes,
what that was. I'm sorry, that was your occupation, a
yes,
hairstylist. That's
yes, it
great. Yeah,
was.
okay. And because I know that probably kept you also on your feet a
Yeah,
lot,
yes,
of course, as a hairstylist. But I think kind of like it seems like the good thing about that job also is that career rather is it's great interacting with so
absolutely. You can
many
talk to
people.
people. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I would imagine that being helpful too, just to try to maintain normalcy, I'm sure you had such a great support base as well with your family. Did you
I
have
did.
good
I
support?
Yes, I did, especially, well, it was almost 17 years ago that we started seeing each other. He's real supportive and he was great too after transplant. He took very good care of me, and yeah, that all went really good. So, and my
That's
son,
good.
my
That's
son
yeah.
Kenny, he dealt with it probably the best he could too at his age at the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
So going back, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's good. We're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So going back to once you were diagnosed with the cancer, they said that I want to I'd like to kind of ask you to elaborate a little bit on that and the reasons to which they said you were not a candidate and kind of explain that to everyone else. I kind of possibly get why, but I just like for other people who may not know or may not have known anybody with a double diagnosis to know, because that was such a long time, Rebecca, to be on dialysis. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious, and I'm sure other people in the audience are as well. Like I see where Lisa G said, you were totally caught off guard, with these things, and that's absolutely right, Lisa. That is just being caught off guard. I mean, with two major health crises. So can you explain that to us? That how that kind of flowed.
It wasn't easy. With the breast cancer, I just had to go through, it was actually just a lumpectomy, and then I had to have 25 treatments of radiation. So I would do that on my lunch break from work. I'd go and have it done, then I'd go back to work. And with the melanoma, there was no treatment after the melanoma. I did catch that very early, so that all went as good as can be expected. And I guess back then with the medications and stuff, that's just was what they did is they didn't do transplants with people who had cancer. But when I was told to go to this meeting at the hospital here, he told me, guidelines have changed and medications have changed, and that's how I ended up, going through the process and being accepted.
Hmm. Yeah. So a great deal of a great percentage rather of your life, especially your younger life was having to endure dialysis. That must have really been something. I keep wondering if it were me, how it's such a part of our life. I know that, but it just, did the time seem to move slower or faster for you during that time? Emotionally, you know what I mean?
I think it kind of, for me, I think it kind of just stayed the same because I still did what I normally would do, except go to dialysis. And then if I had to go, like my boyfriend, he has his own business as well, and he would have two business trips in the fall. And there was a girl in the office at dialysis. You would just tell her, where you were going, and she would set up to the closest dialysis unit where we were staying, and I would just do dialysis wherever we were going and, still be able to go.
Mm-hmm.
So we did
Mm-hmm.
that for a lot. We did that ever since I met him. So I
Mm-hmm.
just had
Mm-hmm.
dialysis really in several different states now over those years. So,
So
and if I
that's
wanted to go,
good.
yeah, even if I wanted to go see my son, I could still go see him. I mean, yeah, it took time. The only thing about it was, it's hard to take time out when you go somewhere to go to dialysis. That wasn't fun, obviously, but you could still do it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, was during that time, it would seem, maybe not in the beginning, but it would seem that maybe sometime, maybe some years down the line, was peritoneal dialysis ever presented to you as an option? Because it would seem like with your lifestyle as a stylist and everything, that that might have been better for you overall. Was that ever presented to you, even in all those years?
Yes, it was, and then dialysis was presented to me at home too, where you would do it yourself. Um, I just didn't want any of that stuff in the house. I didn't want Billy to have to, you know, see all that stuff in our house all the time, and I did not want a catheter in my stomach. So I was just used to going to the unit and having them take care of it and just be done with it then.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah, and
that's just
yeah,
what I. So that's
yeah,
just I
and
just
that's,
can tell that way.
yeah, you had just gotten so accustomed to it, you were fine just doing it the way you were doing it. When you were told that you could now be a candidate for a transplant, how did you feel? What did you like
Mhm.
say? I'm just curious as to, how you felt and what you said, and um, also, how long were you on the transplant list? Tell us a little bit about that.
Once I went through the evaluation and put on the list, it was less than 4 weeks. Because now they
Wow.
add in your dialysis time. They add in your dialysis time now. So with 16 and a half years, that kind of put me at the top of the list. So that was pretty quick.
Yeah.
And when I found out that I qualified, I was excited. And I know my boyfriend was a little bit scared. When they come to take me in for transplant, I had family there. My sisters and my dad and one of my best friends was there, and I was excited. I wasn't crying or anything. I was just excited for my new life, from the precious gift of a donor. Um, I went to Billy, and Billy was just sobbing because he was just scared.
Wow. And how old were you at the time you got your transplant, Rebecca?
57.
Okay. Okay. Wow. 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 I know that was I mean, I can only imagine, even if it's contained, like, oh, I can't believe I'm not gonna ever. Did it feel weird? Almost a little bit, not the getting out of the routine of dialysis, because that is such a repetitive behavior when
Yeah.
we have to do that. And I would imagine and again, I was only on it for less than 7 months, and there was things that I had to remember I don't have to do anymore. I was like, that's right, I don't have
Like
to
your
do that
diet.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it like
Well,
that
even
for
your
you?
diet. Yeah. Yeah, because you have to follow a diet and your fluid intake. Now I don't have to worry about it. Now they want me to drink as much water as I can drink and just have pretty much anything. It was life changing, to tell you the truth, totally life changing. And then it was about 6 months after transplant is when I became a volunteer for CORE to help spread the word of awareness. So that's what I do as well now.
Nice, nice, nice. What do you, and so tell us about what you actually do for CORE. What is it, what is a volunteering experience like for CORE?
Um, of course, pre-pandemic, we would do all kinds of different events. We'd have table setups, and we'd have giveaways for people to have, um, and answer any questions or any myths they might have, and just make people aware of organ donation. And most of us that volunteered are organ recipients. And we also make donor blankets. They're for
Oh.
we make they're no-sew blankets that we make. I've made quite a few of them, and so that's just a way of giving back, is to be a volunteer and to spread the awareness for the need
Absolutely.
of everybody to be an
Yeah,
organ donor.
that's a great way to give back. I mean, it sounds like what I do for LifeLink and Donate Life, as you said before, unfortunate pandemic started. Charles Pecoraro said that his dialysis was started while he was in the hospital in March of 2020 after having been through 3 malignant melanoma situations, 2 cancer operations. And fortunately, one was done so quick after being diagnosed, they removed all of it. That is a blessing. Um, yeah, he's got a little story on this too about wow, the genetics and of his kidney diagnosed with the biopsy. Yeah. Thank you. Wow, for sharing that,
Yeah, prayers to
Charles.
him.
It is a hard yoke to pull when you double health issues. It's so true. That's why I said I can't imagine wrapping, my mind around that. So, how
I just
long
tried
were
to
you?
go
Mhm.
ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, you're fine. You go ahead and I'll ask once you're done. Go
I,
ahead.
I just try to have a positive attitude, because that's just who I am, and it could always be worse.
Yeah.
And I had a son, like I said, I had a son to take care of, and I didn't want him to see me all doom and gloom. So um, I just did the best I could, and that's all anybody can do.
hmm You did
So
more than the best you could. You were a total soldier going through that, and I can tell. You're just like, I
you
just
have to,
did what I had to do.
well, and you have to take care of yourself. When you're on
Yes.
dialysis, you have to take care of yourself and follow your diet and your fluid intake, and take your medicines when you're supposed to take them. And even after transplant, you have a ton of as you have a ton of medications to take. So it's just
hmm
what you have to do to have a good life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how long were you this is a two-part question. How long were you in the hospital after your transplant? And also, were you actually three-part? Were you told anything about the deceased donor? And have you tried to, yes, a positive attitude is essential, Charles. Have you tried to, since that time, reach out to the donor family, like with a letter or anything? This is something that is popular if a person chooses to do so. If you could share that.
Mhm. Yeah, I was in the hospital for 5 days afterwards, and then after you get home, or obviously I don't know if it was for you the same, but I couldn't do anything for 12 weeks. Of course, I could get up and walk around. Um, the only thing I know about my donor is he was a 40-year-old from West Virginia. They don't give you information. And yes, I did write a letter to reach out to him. I have had no response back. Oh,
Okay.
and I do have
Yeah, and
another
that
letter
happens.
here at home that I want
Mhm,
to try and write another one again as well.
mhm, mhm. I think it's great when people choose
Sometimes you
to.
hear right away from them. Sometimes it takes them a while, and sometimes you never hear from them. So
Right. That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah, I agree. And it's nice to do. And it's like a comfort, even if you don't hear back. It's kind of like the satisfaction of knowing that you did, the right thing. Marcia Civic said, "You're such a great role model of strength." Hey, Uncle Jim, thank you. And I think the important thing is that the most important thing that you're doing is what you're
yeah,
doing with.
cousins of mine.
Oh, okay. Hi. Thanks for joining. I think the important thing is what you're doing with CORE. You know what I mean? That is always to me a form of giving back when we are blessed with the gift of life. It's about,
Yeah,
paying it forward and helping other
and I
people.
enjoy. I
Um,
enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing it as well.
yeah, yeah, that's good. I mean, I love what I do as well with these things, and it was very, very hard during the pandemic for everything to just go from
Yeah,
here like several times a week to doing this kind of stuff to zero. I mean,
yeah.
and I'm sure
We would try
everyone
to
can.
we would try to do things over Zoom. One time we had a sip and paint. There was an instructor, and you could pay for your materials, and they ship them to you, and then you made this picture. Um, that was really a cool thing that we did. And over Christmas, we played a bingo game, and you could win a gift card for. So we try to do things and have meetings and keep caught up on Zoom.
Mhm. Yeah. Do did did your illness during that time, because it was such a large stretch, in any way affect your personal relationships, like for you personally, like your friendships and get-togethers with family? I know for me, for a while, I wasn't always, up to it. I continued to work too, just as you did when I was going through mine, until it really got to an aggressive stage years down the line where it was causing me some problems. But sometimes I didn't have a desire to, kind of hang out with friends the way I normally do and things like that. How about you?
Um, it affected one of my relationship. I was married at the time. I was on my second marriage at the time when I started dialysis, and uh, a year after that, then I just don't think he could deal with me being on dialysis. So of course the marriage ended, and then a couple years later is when I met who I'm with now, and he, of course, I I had a talk with him before we really got this really dating, and told him if he couldn't deal with what I have to deal with, then I can't be in another relationship. And 17 years later, we're still together. So, um,
That's
but as far as doing things with friends, no, I still did things, and I still, well, until the pandemic hit, because now I was, very fearful of being around a bunch of people, because we're more susceptible to it. So um, that has made me stressful. The pandemic has
yeah.
kind of a little bit of depression and stressful, worrying about not getting it. But I've had all the vaccines, and I'm waiting now for the Eva shell vaccine now the antibodies. I'm waiting for the hospital to call me for that.
I'm sorry, and which one is that you're waiting on?
It's called EvaHealth.
Okay, I'm not familiar. I don't recollect hearing about that. Can you tell us about
Yeah,
it?
it's I think it's an infusion of the antibodies against COVID.
Okay.
So, and did you get the fourth vaccine?
No, I have not gotten the fourth. I got the first booster. I haven't gotten that one yet.
Yeah, well, the second one it was out only just for immunocompromised people, and I've gotten
Yeah.
mine. I've gotten that.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, the good thing was my doctor, my nephrologist did have me get the test, the antibody test to see if I had built any, and I did build up a nice amount of antibodies. Now, unfortunately, a lot of recipients don't, but again, we're talking about different systems, different
yeah,
people. We're all going to be different,
they haven't done that here. He just told me to get the vaccine, the first booster at the time. That's what they told me to do, and then I got the fourth one. So hopefully, because I haven't been sick, so
Amen. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's great. I totally relate to what you're saying with regard to being a little fearful and the apprehension, that comes along with that. But I know one thing I had to tell myself to keep, and praying about was knowing that I've done all that I can do,
Yeah.
by doing the right thing and getting the vaccines. And we cannot allow ourselves to be prisoners, in our own homes forever, and also to be um, captive of fear about it. You know what I mean? Because that's going to perpetuate anxiety. Anxiety perpetuates depression,
Yeah.
and so now we've got a whole nother triangle of issues going on, and so it really behooves us to just, because we're special, as I call us, to just do
Yeah.
everything we can in what we're supposed to do, and just to live our life, live it carefully to a sense,
Yeah.
but not careful to the point of fear, and so, yeah, many of us, I'm in the meetings all the time with other recipients, and sure, most of us have had that same thing. Man, I'm just, people aren't doing the right thing around me. And so,
Exactly. Yeah.
yep, and that's the sad part, but we can't control others. You know what I mean? And again, even if we stay away from people, we still have to go to doctor's appointments, grocery stores.
Yeah.
We
Same
have to
thing.
live. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do all that, but and I wear my mask, and I always take in disinfectant wipes, and I always have those in my hands when I go into stores because it just to be safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And so, what is your creatinine level like now? And what medications, by the way, are you on? Your immunosuppressants. What do you take?
my last creatinine was 0.98.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I take two tacrolimus, one in the morning and one at night, and then I just got changed in December, and I take one sirolimus.
Okay, that's one I haven't heard of. I haven't heard of
Well, I
that
haven't
one.
heard of that one either, but yeah, but to find out where your levels are, those two medications, their numbers, you add those two together, and that'll tell them if it's too high or too low.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
yeah, that's how they would do those two. I was having some issues. It started like in September. I thought I had food poisoning at first, and then I continued like with diarrhea for like 2.5 months, and they switched my mycophenolate, my mycophenolate like to mycophenolic, and told
Mm.
me to take that for 2 weeks and eat probiotic yogurt, and then let them know in 2 weeks if that helped. It did nothing. So then they sent me to a gastroenterologist, and I had to go through all kinds of stool samples, blood work. I ended up with a colonoscopy, an endoscopy, a CT scan, and an MRI. And the sirolimus change is what the thing that helped was the change in the medication. I must have became allergic or something to the mycophenolate.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and so it got better once the
it's better.
change it. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. And I lost like during that time, I probably lost like 12 pounds.
I'm sure from
Yeah.
the,
Everything was just going right through me. So, but that's all stopped now for the last couple months. So
that's
that's
good. That's
yeah.
good. And
So
so
I
you're
think
all, mhm.
so
Go
taking 3
ahead.
milligrams of medication is pretty good. Just taking 3 milligrams, how much you take when you first come home is quite a bit.
Hmm.
Down to 3 pills a day, I think that's pretty good. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I too pretty much, well, our doses, dosages will be different. Like I do take mycophenolate. That's the generic name for Cellcept. And I
yes.
take 2 in the AM. I don't know if I'm pretty sure, I'm guessing you take your medications twice a day as well. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
take I take one tacrolimus in the morning and one at night and I only take one of the sirolimus and I take that at night.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember I couldn't understand because I would hear other people sharing with me what they take, like just the limitation. And I'm thinking the amount, and I'm like, why do I have to take, 4 in the AM and 4 in the PM? This was when it had been like that since the beginning. And my doctor explained to me because, the differences in our systems and body weight, how our body processes it. And
Mhm.
so I go, okay, I get it. But I take,
This
like I said, mycophenolate in 2 in the AM, and I take in Varsis XR, the extended release, which is also a form of tacrolimus. And I do 5 milligrams of that once in the morning, and then just 1 mycophenolate at night, and that's all that I'm on.
and then people don't realize the side effects that all this medication can cause you as well.
Yeah, what were some of yours? Share some of yours with us.
Um, just kind of being maybe not talkative, just kind of sometimes moody, tired. I had the tremors pretty bad at the beginning. Those
Yeah.
have pretty much subsided. That's about it.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, they do. They can have pretty yucky side effects, especially in the beginning. But there's
Yeah,
also, mhm.
you
Go
can
ahead.
also be a little bit short-tempered sometimes. Things just kind of some things are more irritating. It's better now with the less medication, but you know, just people have to understand what your body's going through.
Right. And really talk to the nephrologist, the doctors about those things just to make them aware. Um, and also, they probably generally don't share in the beginning how they can have long-term side effects. I mean, I experience certain things that are definitely like long-term side effects. I mean, such as like one of the unfortunate things about immunosuppressants, it doesn't mean it will happen with everyone, but it can send you into diabetes after you've been on it so long. Again, it doesn't mean it'll happen to everyone, but I know it. I got diagnosed with it a year and a half ago, type 2. I am not on medication. I am one who believes in let me try to get hold of
Me
this
too.
first myself.
I was
Yeah. And yeah, let me try to do this myself, unless you tell me it's at a dangerous and show me that it's at dangerous levels. That's different. I would never tell everybody to do that, you know. But if you're just at the beginning stage and you can possibly make a few changes to kind of reverse that, you know what I mean? It's kind of good to try. It can't hurt to try. Is
yeah,
that you're saying
yeah, I
you
was
did that
diagnosed.
too?
I was diagnosed with type 2 a year ago this past December. And then once they lowered my tacrolimus, my A1C dropped dramatically.
Wow.
So I no
Mm.
longer, you know, I'm good now, although I still try to watch carbs, or as much sugar, but at least to be able to eat is a little bit more freeing than being on a diabetic diet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
Yeah. Yeah.
another thing I had after transplant too was long-term kidney patients can also develop neuropathy. But I didn't have it while I was on dialysis, but after transplant, I did get neuropathy in my legs and my feet. So then I was on medication I still take medication for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's no fun
Mm-hmm.
either. My feet actually,
Sure.
at the beginning, my feet felt like they were literally like on fire, but that has gone
Wow.
away.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. And so we deal with these little things but we deal with them because the bigger picture is so much brighter and better,
Yeah, for sure.
to
Yeah.
have life, to have a new life and feel more, healthier and invigorated, um,
And just be
you know,
grateful for the gift.
exactly. Being grateful for the gift. Exactly. So if you were going to give advice to someone waiting um, on a kidney transplant, and someone such as yourself that's had to endure such an exorbitant amount of time on dialysis, what would, if they were coming to you with that for advice, what would you say to them?
Pretty much kind of some of the things I've already said about staying positive and um, just try to give them that there's still hope.
Hmm.
I mean, I can be an example of, you know, there is hope when I thought I would, there is. I didn't think I would ever qualify. And I guess you just never know for sure what can happen.
Hmm.
Just try to take care of yourself, do what the doctors say. Because I know there's people who don't.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm. And I would think, I try to always tell people the important thing is prevention, getting regular yearly checkups. And one thing in relation to the kidneys in particular is you have to really ask to be checked for that. Why not? I
yeah,
mean, if your insurance is paying, you have insurance, because it won't pick up. It doesn't mean that, regular physical or blood work will pick that up. There's specific blood work that
right.
has to be done,
Yep.
in order to find out if there's a problem, extensive urinalysis and things like
Mhm.
that. So I just think it's really important about prevention. And hey, Steve, how are you, dear? Thank you. And just to do everything you can to not only keep ourselves educated, but educating our families, because like what your type of disease, Rebecca, is definitely a genetic one. Actually, I
Yeah.
think majority of them are, but PKD is definitely genetic. Yes, Lisa, we got to keep hope alive. We've got to keep putting this word out here to try to help as many people as we can. Thanks, Steve, for sharing. Um, it's just
I
so
mean,
important.
and
Go
there's
ahead.
everywhere I go, I'm not afraid to ask people if they're a registered organ donor. I mean, I get in conversations with a lot of different people just because I'm so passionate about people being organ donors, because to save somebody's life is just, it's an awesome gift, as you know.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Because
Yes.
without
Yes.
it,
Yes.
where would we be? Where would a lot of people be?
Hmm.
Um, so, and a lot of times I try to have, a pin in my pocket. It says donate life, and I'll give that to them. And just sometimes I can go on and on to people with strangers trying to educate them because they have such different outlooks on it. And I try to tell them the truth about it. And sometimes my boyfriend, he'll just walk away from me.
Why?
Especially if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. He's not going to stand there and listen to me because he's heard enough of it probably.
Oh, well, hey, this is what we do again with this. We are actually preaching it. And I don't have any shame in my game about doing it, because that's the thing about it. Yeah, I know you don't. I can totally see that. But also, I do realize that oftentimes when people haven't gone through something themselves, that same level of compassion, so to speak, or if you want to call it empathy, is kind of not there. When as that saying goes, you got to walk the walk to be able to talk the talk. I remember I knew so many officers with back pain. They were, oh my God, that was like a big thing on the police department, just the major back issues. And I've had a couple of partners that, had to endure that. And I felt bad for them, don't get me wrong, but I had no idea what it meant to be in that type of pain until many, 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 many years down the line after retirement. I succumbed to sciatic pain.
Yeah, I got that.
It just totally blew my mind. And all I could think about was my former partners who were dealing with that. You know what I mean? And still working and still coming to work, Rebecca, dealing with that kind of back pain. We got 25-pound gun belts around our waist with all our equipment. So it is more than a notion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I probably like I commented, my son's he's a detective in law enforcement, and he's used to all that weight around him as well. Although now he doesn't have to wear all that being a detective, but
yeah,
there's still enough to worry about, that's for sure, because he's homicide. So
yeah. Oh yeah, you're still, if you're out in the weather, that's another thing. A lot of our pain came from working in the cold.
Well,
Charles said,
he's in Virginia, okay. So it's not super cold down there. So
not bad. That's good. Yeah, Charles said he had neuropathy and through both of his legs, arms, blood pressure runs extremely low. Wow. Yeah. That's right. And the education does need to be for the patient and the family. Exactly. Because if you're enduring something, that means the family's enduring it too. You know what I mean? So
I definitely get that.
Yeah. And so, wow. Well, you know what? We're coming up on our hour, and I am just so thankful for your gift of life. And, you took the time on your Sunday to come and share, your story with us.
That's no problem at all. That wasn't, and it was great meeting you as well.
Thank you. And I always leave each of my guests, and it's for the audience as well, with the scripture that I choose to, that's on my heart about you, and what you've endured. And it's coming from Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, as let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And that is exactly what you embodied, Sharon. You did not allow this illness to make you weary to the point where you let it get you just in this pit of despair. And that time came when you reaped that harvest, that 16 and a half years later. I mean, look at God and what he did in your life and how he blessed you. And you got that kidney and you look fabulous. And I am just So grateful for you. Charles said, thanks for sharing your story. We all thank you, and I wish you nothing but Godspeed in just your gift of life.
And
Thank you so much. We might have lost Sharon, but wow, I am just so glad that she took the time to share her story with us, guys. And I don't know how many years everyone endured dialysis, but I just know, as I said, that I never personally met anyone that endured it for that long. So I am also so grateful for you guys. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining. Please, again, hit that like button, share this show on Facebook and YouTube, especially YouTube, guys, because we can always touch someone's life and make it a little better. You know, whatever we can do. And again, don't forget to lift up the people of Ukraine. Lift up, we're going to continue to pray and lift up our families, lift up the things that are going on in the world. We are grateful that this pandemic seems to be lifting a bit as far as COVID, but don't get too lax, you know, on taking care of yourself, especially my recipients, because we still got to be careful, because we know with our immune systems being zapped, everything hits us harder than everybody else. So enjoy life, but enjoy it carefully. And most importantly, remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I. And there's nothing you can do about it. Until next time, Bella's Hope for Healing is closing out, and I want you guys to have a wonderful Sunday for the remainder and a wonderful week. Bye-bye.